The Home Tech Podcast is supported by you. To find out more, go to HomeTech.fm/support.
This is the HomeTech Podcast for Friday, March 8th from Denver, Colorado. I'm Jason Griffin.
And from Sarasota, Florida, I am Seth Johnson. Jason, what's going on?
Seth, I got to tell you, I'm back to work full-time this week. I took a few days off, and I've never actually been quite so happy to be back to work. And I'll tell you why.
What's going on?
So I took a few days off, as I mentioned, for my wife to go take a much-needed momcation, she called it. I'd go out to Los Angeles to visit some girlfriends of hers from back when we used to live out there. And so I was on full-time daddy duty here for just about 5 days, about 4.5 days. And holy cow, that is a lot of work. Thankfully, I did have my mom come to town, so I can't take like full credit for it. I did have some help, but even with my mom here, hats off to all of the full-time parents out there. It is relentless. And I had a pretty good sense for that. I work from home full time, and I'm very involved with my children when I'm not working. So it wasn't as if I didn't have an inkling. But when you're on full time, responsibility 24/7, it's a whole different ball game.
Oh yeah. So you and I had similar weekends because my wife actually went out of town as well. And
interesting. So you got the full immersion experience as well.
I leveled up. I decided, you know what? It's going to be it's a beautiful day, Saturday. Let's go to the theme park. So we drove all the way. She went to Disney to do a Disney half marathon, and I was like, let's just go up there and surprise her. So we drove up and surprised her, and then basically went to Universal because we've got passes there to like basically get dinner. So you're Universal, and then came back, and then of course Monday she was sick. So I don't know, man. I sick baby, not quite fun. But yeah, I don't know how you do. One is rough. I don't know how you manage to do two. That's why.
Yeah, it makes the job of working in and talking about home technology seem pretty easy.
Yeah,
by comparison.
But by far. Yeah.
So speaking of that, what do you say we jump into some home tech headlines?
Let's do it. Amazon said Thursday that it had decided to stop selling dash buttons, the handy, if somewhat ridiculous, device you press to reorder stuff like dog food, bottled water, or septic treatment powder. Okay, we'll leave that there. If you still proudly use the dash button or even have a few dozen laying around the house, don't worry. Amazon plans to continue supporting new orders through existing dash buttons, so as long as the public keeps using them. And I guess as long as the battery keeps working, right? Because they're just battery-powered devices.
Yeah. These were an interesting one. Can't say I'm shocked, but they were kind of it was a fun story to watch. So, end of an era.
They were a means to an end for Amazon. They weren't like the real power behind the dash button is not the dash button itself. It's just the API that Amazon uses to place an order and have like the logistics behind all that mess to have those products show up to your door. And I think that is in place, and Amazon proved the case for having that. And without dash buttons, you wouldn't have printers that could do this automatically, right? Like your printer can order ink, and it can do it automatically using the same API that the dash button did. So these aren't going away; they're just going to exist in different forms.
Right, that's precisely it. Speaking of Amazon, security researchers at Mobile World Congress took to the stage to hack an Amazon Ring video doorbell in real time. The attack is a bit of a complicated one. An attacker has to gain access to a person's Wi-Fi. The attack also requires the Ring owner to be connected to the same network during the attack. Once connected, the attacker can see the unencrypted audio and video as it's transmitted from the Ring doorbell to the Ring application used by the owner. If you are a Ring owner, you don't need to panic. Amazon has been made aware of the issue and has issued an update to its Ring app to address the vulnerability. If you keep your app up to date, you should be protected from this particular attack. And Seth, I got to file this one under the security stories that you really don't need to worry about bucket. This is just a headline grabber.
Well, it says they hacked the Ring. They kind of, it's really like they hacked the person's Wi-Fi network, right? Like
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your password is 12345678890. So I guess that.
Yeah.
And
I paraphrased it out of the clip we read there, but it's like if they gain access to your Wi-Fi network through, guessing your password or breaking the encryption, or it listed like the 3 or 4 ways that you could hack a Wi-Fi network, and it's like, well, those are big ifs. So it's good.
They have to catch a video call going on, like, oh great, you're looking at my front door, which you're standing outside of, hacking my Wi-Fi.
I'm torn on these stories. Like, it's good that people are out there, doing these sort of white label hacks and pushing companies to make their products more secure. It's also like, to the, I guess, uneducated reader, it seems a lot more scary than it actually is.
Right. And it's good on those guys for hacking, because that's awesome that they're able to do that. And good on Amazon in this case, good on Ring for fixing the thing is not like that code is coded. You're going to always find bugs in code. There's no perfect program at all. But the thing is like how the companies react in fixing the bugs and how quickly they move on security issues like this. And, it's like
that's it.
Amazon's done a good job. So kudos to them as well.
Indeed.
Apple could be looking for ways to implement home security features into its products after buying up a number of related patents from a failed artificial intelligence startup called Lighthouse AI. We talked about these guys on the fireside chat with Rose and Mike and Richard. Back in was it December, I guess?
Yep.
Yeah. I remember we talked about this company, and they shortly went out of business right after that. Apple acquired patents sometime last year, but the details have only now been recently published in the U.S. Patent and Trademark Database. The patents relate to technology used for computer vision, security, visual authentication, and similar functions. It's not immediately clear how Apple is planning on using these patents, but one idea might involve some kind of authentication technologies for use with Face ID. The patents might also fit with Apple's HomeKit framework, which is used by iOS devices to communicate with smart home appliances.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is interesting. I'm sure it was probably an opportunistic purchase, with Lighthouse going out of business, and most of these sort of purchases are opportunistic. Suspect there's probably multiple possibilities here revolving around Face ID, and I think the HomeKit one is the bigger sort of speculation, but it will be interesting to see. Speaking of HomeKit here, Lutron's first ever fan speed controller was an announcement that hit back 2019 at the CES Consumer Electronics Show. Now Lutron's smart fan speed control is shipping for $59, and early customers are already showing it off working with HomeKit support. Lutron's new smart home accessory is a big deal because it adds smart fan features to traditional fans. Just replace the fan's basic on-off switch. No need to replace the entire ceiling fan with a brand new unit just to gain smart home features. I know a lot of Lutron users have been anxiously awaiting a fan control, so this is great news.
Love fan controls. It's always nice to see those get added in. Kind of wish this was a canopy control like they have with their Maestro, where you could do like the light and fan speed, but we'll take what we can get.
You can't have it all, Seth.
No, we'll take it. An updated version of the Sonos One smart speaker called Gen 2 Creative goes on sale tomorrow, adding minor improvements, including Bluetooth Low Energy. All right. It's the year of Bluetooth Low Energy, Jason. It's happening.
It is. It's the next big thing.
Sonos representative told CNET that the new $199 version is completely identical in appearance to the original, but an internal changes included an updated processor and increased memory. It will say Sonos One Gen 2 on the box and will be sold in place of the original model. The company says the original will be offered by some U.S. retailers at a reduced price of $179 while stocks last. That's a pretty good deal for the one if you don't need Bluetooth Low Energy for any reason.
Why would you not want Bluetooth Low Energy though? It's like the next big thing.
Right. I mean, your Sonos speaker has it. So
it's, it says for easier setup, though not audio streaming. So I guess it's just to help with the setup process, so you don't have that whole thing where you have to have like a temporary Wi-Fi network. I know I'm not sure about the Sonos, but I know a lot of devices that's how they do it. So I guess
right.
I don't know. Incremental improvements never hurt, so that's cool. Bluetooth, the next big thing.
we gotta get a Bluetooth sound.
We do. We do need a sound.
The sad trombone. Wah, 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 wah.
That's a hole in our offering for sure. There's been a narrative in media circles recently that Netflix, Amazon, and other technology companies are killing cable companies. Cord cutting is indeed accelerating. No one watches cable TV anymore. The end is nigh, according to the narrative. The quieter truth is that many cable companies, maybe even most, don't really care. Pay TV aggregation is a worse business than high-speed broadband distribution. According to a story out of CNBC, it's been this way for years. In 2013, James Dolan, then CEO of Cablevision, told the Wall Street Journal there could come a day when his company stopped offering TV service altogether, relying on broadband for its revenue. Dolan would later go on to sell Cablevision for $17.7 billion. This story does go on. We put this one under headlines, but it's one that's definitely worth going and taking a look at because it does go on to describe a company called Cable One, and they're apparently the 7th largest U.S. cable company in the world. And the story talks about it's an interview with the CEO of the company, and I believe it was a woman. Her name is Julie Lawless. Talks about how, like, from a strategic sort of standpoint, they don't even really care that much about TV, right? They're like the 7th largest cable company in the country, and they're really focused on broadband. Apparently, it's a much more profitable business, and
even more important than it being an economic business is that there's less churn with the broadband customers than there is with the bundling customers. The customers that are just there for the bundled cable packages, they turn over, they leave, they go somewhere else. But the broadband services, if they improve that, people tend to hang around. Who knew Americans would like fast internet to their home? Who knew?
Well, it is an interesting perspective because, and we've talked about it a ton on the show, like, oh, the cable companies are getting killed. They're getting killed. And it's interesting to look at it from a different angle, like, do they really care? And last year, we were talking about one of these
Jason,
stories.
I can answer that question, right?
Yeah.
Just flat out.
Yeah. And I remember last year we were having a conversation about this, and industry colleague Jim Carroll, who many know as a former founder of Savant, does a lot of advisory work now, had engaged with me on Twitter and made a good point that, like, maybe they don't. Like, they're really looking more towards the future of 5G and that sort of distribution model, and, like, to them, maybe this business is less important than maybe we tend to believe. So interesting to get that perspective.
Right. Speaking of streaming news, Hulu and YouTube together have signed about 3 million subscribers to their live online TV services, according to people with knowledge of the matter. A sign the two internet companies may be outmaneuvering competitors like Sling TV and DirecTV Now. Hulu Live service is nearing 2 million subscribers, while YouTube TV has eclipsed 1 million, said the people who asked not to be identified because the numbers aren't public. Both continue to add hundreds of thousands of customers every quarter. It's good to see that going, but it's still kind of like considered the bundled cable, right? Like, they still have bundles going into that.
Yeah, skinny bundles, I guess, is what
bundles.
That's kind of the term for it. But you're seeing these companies grow, and no surprise there. In fact, in our final headline here, things got serious for pay TV providers in 2018 as the number of subscribers who decided to cut the cord nearly doubled. This, according to Leichtman Research Group. The firm's findings show that the largest pay TV providers in the U.S., representing about 95% of the market, lost just over 2.8 million net video subscribers in 2018, compared to a pro forma loss of about 1.5 million in 2017. So a big jump there. Like I said, almost doubled in the headline. The ballooning pay TV subscriber losses in 2018 can largely be pegged on DirecTV and Dish Network. Those companies combined lost 2.3 million subscribers in 2018, up from approximately 1.5 the year before. So a lot of numbers there. Again, this is like an ongoing thing that we've been talking about, but we're just seeing that shift continue. Again, going back to the story we talked about a couple of headlines ago, the question now in my mind is, where do these companies, how worried are these companies really when it comes down to it? I think DirecTV is an interesting, DirecTV and Dish, being satellite providers. I don't know a ton about that business, but I have to imagine it's kind of maybe a little bit of a different deal for them, not being so much into the infrastructure 5G conversation. I'm not sure. I guess AT&T owns DirecTV though, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, I don't like. the reason I find this fascinating is not so much the numbers and tracking like who's doing what and whether these companies survive at all, because I do not care. but I am curious as to what, like, how this ends up in the house, like as far as, taking it back to home tech, like what technology are we using to get these types of cable services into the house in 5 years, 10 years, like this is
Right.
something that's interesting and completely changes system design, from an integration standpoint. When you can, you don't even have to, when you just plug a TV into the wall and you get 4K video to it over Wi-Fi, coming from a bundled cable service or whatever, like what's the point of having a massive video distribution system? Like,
Right.
there are a couple advantages, but at the end of the day, like, is it worth it? And do you get the performance out of it that you get from just streaming it straight to the TV screen? So, I don't know, like there's some serious changes that will be happening to the home technology design in the next few years because of this one thing. I mean, this is what people do with their TVs and their AV systems. Like, we're not. This is literally what they do. They sit down and they watch this. They don't watch Blu-rays. They don't get media and plug it in. Like, this is all people do most of the time. So it will be interesting to see how this, to me at least, how this ends up in the house. Technology-wise,
Yeah, no, it's
what
a
this
great
looks
point.
like.
Yeah, how does it actually affect? Forget about all the numbers that sort of make your eyes gloss over, but how does it affect the individual sort of home and end user experience? You mentioned,
and we haven't figured that out yet.
No,
we haven't done that.
not.
Like, it's still up in the air.
So my wife, I mentioned she was out in Los Angeles, and she used to work for the. This is a little bit of a tangent, by the way. Used to work for the Screen Actors Guild out there. And so she was visiting some colleagues from work when she was there, and they gave her a bunch of screeners, like DVDs of, all the nominated movies or whatever. And she brought them home, and I'm literally looking around my house going, I don't know what to do with these. Like, I don't have a drive anywhere for these. So, like, even if I had Plex set up, which I don't, like, I'd have to go buy a thing. And so, we're probably just going to go. I want to watch them, so we're probably just going to go buy like the cheapest, sort of Blu-ray player that we can find or whatever, and we'll plug it in when we want to watch one of these, and then probably put it away when we don't need it. But yeah, it's funny. I mean, the times have really changed. I just rarely do I ever even think about needing like a Blu-ray or DVD player these days. I just don't. Everything is streaming, so it is very, very interesting. All right, well, shifting gears a little bit here, we have one more news story that we wanted to jump in and spend a few minutes on, Seth. This one's near and dear to my heart, being working as I do with OneVision and being so involved in sort of modernizing the approach to service for home technology professionals. This story about Best Buy came out of CE Pro, coming off the back of their Q4 earnings call recently, and I'll just read quickly the lead to the story. On a recent earnings call, Best Buy reported that more than 1 million customers have signed up for its new-ish, $199 a year total tech support program. This launched back in May of 2018. The news helped skyrocket the company to a stronger sales numbers for Q4 and propelled a stock price up 16% in one day to nearly $70 a share. So really good earnings call overall for Best Buy. Quote, having a service that provides members unlimited Geek Squad support for all their technology, no matter where or when they bought it, is a compelling and unique value proposition for our members. We continue to be pleased with the customer enrollment and ended the year with more than 1 million members. So really cool to see this. For those of you who aren't totally familiar, at what I do at my day job at OneVision is work with leading integrators all over the country to modernize and transform the way that they approach service. And one of the big tenets of what we do is help them get into the business of selling these sort of premium support memberships. It's a core part of what we do. And when we saw Best Buy launch this program, when did I say it was here? Back in May of last year, so pretty recently. We were really excited. I think it's represents a shift in thinking for Best Buy, and the CEO talked about that a lot on the earnings call in terms of kind of shifting that focus away from just being like a product company to really thinking more about the customer experience. and providing this sort of 24/7 around-the-clock access to remote support, and charging a premium for it. It's great to see the customers are buying that, and I think that there's a lot of lessons that we can all learn from that. So I was pretty excited to see this story.
Yeah, it also looks like they expanded on their in-home advisors program, where they basically spend out people to do in-home consultations and tell people what to buy, rather than having them come to the store and schlep through all those boxes and look at brightly colored TVs. Revenue per order we generated from these interactions continues to be much higher than in-store and online, and tends to have a much higher gross profit rate and higher attach rate of paid services. So pretty interesting to see that. Like that's pretty much exactly what integrators do, right? We get called out to come take a look at a house that needs a TV and tell them how much it's going to cost to put up and what TV to buy and how it's all going to go together, and end up doing the work. And that's that's the integrator's life. Like that's all we do.
Totally.
So it's interesting to see that like in there too, as part of like things that they're having success with. Oddly enough.
Yeah. No, that was definitely something that we at One Vision were happy to see as well. Is like one of the things that we believe is, for a long time in the industry, like there's been, as you know, Seth, like ongoing conversations about how to get recurring revenue and how to get this thing going. And part of that conversation has always been like this idea of sort of preventative maintenance visits is something a lot of people have talked about for a long time. Like, as part of our program, we'll come out to the house and we'll tune things up and dust off the rack and blah, blah, blah. And I've never been a huge believer in the value of that alone. But something that we work with our partners to do is what we call tech reviews. And certainly this idea of going out there and kind of kicking the tires on things and making sure that the system is functioning properly is part of it. But I would argue that it's the smaller part. And I think if you're interested in this sort of evolution, definitely go check out the summaries or go listen back to Best Buy's earnings call, because what they talked about, so much of it centered around the customer experience. And these, what we call tech reviews and what Best Buy calls, their in-home consultations or whatever, are a great opportunity to sit down with clients and end users and really review like the state of their system and, do retraining and get them up to speed with making sure that they know how to get the most value out of their purchase and that they're still comfortable using it, answer any questions they have, and of course, keep them up to date on the latest and greatest technology enhancements. So upsell opportunities abound there. And so I know there are a ton of differences in terms of the target customer and the price points that Best Buy is approaching versus what most home technology professionals are thinking about. But I think if you completely dismiss what Best Buy is doing and the success that they're having here, you're missing a really important point, which is that end users and customers are buying these sort of offerings. They are seeing value in it. Best Buy is doing a great job of going out there and proving it. And, if they're able to get whatever that equates to, $199 a year, so I think that's like $17 a month or something like that.
$16, and some change.
So if they're able to do that with the target customer that they're going after, what as an integrator can you do for your clients, given the relationships and the higher complexity and the higher expertise that you bring? The don't get lost on the price point, right? It's the value proposition that you should be focusing on,
right? Because I assume that you don't like. I don't know too much about this particular program, but I mean, other than what we read off of it, like I've never had the, I've never paid for this program, and I've never, I'm not part of it. I've never had somebody come out and tell me what to do with that would be really funny to have them come out and tell me what to do with my technology that I have in my house. Yeah, here's a $12,000 just had power system that I have here, and it basically has one Apple TV hooked up to it. What should I do?
Right. You're definitely not their target customer.
But I mean, it's just interesting that $200, like their customers are seeing value in that, and it tells me that as an integrator, like I could probably charge $200 a year as well, and find some program find some bullet points to put behind that line item, and include it on my bids, and that's decent money that would come in on every job.
I think you could certainly charge more than that, and I think another thing that's important to point out that is a common sort of misconception is like the $200 a year that they're charging, while it does provide unlimited access to, phone and email and I think chat support, it's not like an all-you-can-eat, come out to the house and we're not going to send you a bill type of plan. They're still billing by the hour, which is exactly what we advise, do with our partners. Is like, I think a lot of people have the misconception that if you charge monthly or annually for some sort of a premium membership, that it has to be all-inclusive. And the idea here is not all-inclusive. It's charging a premium for access to remote support, maybe for prioritized access, proactive monitoring, perhaps discounted service labor rates, whatever you decide to make that premium provide access to. But it doesn't mean that you're not charging hourly still.
It just means that integrators are doing that for free right now.
Right.
Essentially what it means.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's, I think, one of the big takeaways here is like this idea of 24/7 tech support over the phone or over email or chat or however you decide to do it in your company. You don't have to give that away. Like that's a premium offering, and Best Buy's out there proving it. So I think this is a fascinating story, and I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about it. Especially for the pros in the audience. Like, go check this out. Make sure you're really thinking about it, not dismissing it as, well, we're not Best Buy, right? I think you do that at sort of your own peril. There's a lot of really interesting takeaways here.
Yep, good stuff. All the links and topics we've discussed tonight can be found in our show notes at HomeTech.fm/248. If you are there, don't forget to sign up for our weekly newsletter, which includes even further analysis, as well as other industry news that may not have made the show. Again, that link is HomeTech.fm/248.
Yep, absolutely. And also, don't forget, you can join us live in the chat room on Wednesdays, typically starting around 7 or 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We'd love to have you find out more by visiting HomeTech.fm/live.
Let's check the mailbag here. What do we got in here?
Seth, we got some help in the pronunciation department. Yeah, which, for any longtime listener to the show, you know that we always need that. Like we can always use help in that department. So
yeah, absolutely.
So Scott helped us out with a conversation we were having last week about, and I'm going to pronounce it correctly this time, Huawei.
Sounds good.
So I'm going to read here from Scott's email, and he's actually even got the it's Chinese, right? Not. This is a Chinese company. I apologize.
Yes, Chinese. Yep.
Okay, so he's even got the Chinese characters in there. So it's a very complete analysis here of our gross mispronunciation last week. Actually, Scott says the correct way to pronounce Huawei is Huawei, and he's got it spelled out phonetically for us. There is an H at the beginning of the transliteration for a reason. The beginning is pronounced the same as Juan. So if you can pronounce that name correctly, then you can pronounce Huawei. Unfortunately, almost everyone butchers the name because for some reason the soft H there is difficult. But if you ask these same people to say Juan, they would have no problem. I love that. I thought that was great advice because I can definitely say Juan, but I still have to think when I say Huawei. So there you go.
Huawei is muy guapo. Voy a nadar. No, that's not right either. Man, my Spanish is gone.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
We'll stick to English.
There we go. Stick to English. Yeah. So that's good stuff, man. We appreciate it. We definitely could use. I mean, I have a feeling that this isn't the last time we're gonna have problems.
Not
pronouncing,
the first and not the last. No.
Right. Because I mean, these companies are going to be coming over in force because there are massive companies in China that exist and will be coming overseas in the near future and expanding like Huawei and Xiaomi. Which I have the recording of that one, but we don't have anybody like man on the street like we did last time.
That's
which
right.
is awesome.
Yeah, we still need that in our arsenal. So if anyone wants to, step up and provide that sound clip, we'll get you on air.
If there's a Huawei store in China, feel free to go in and ask the employees to pronounce the company name, and that's we'll put it on the show because that's what we do.
Scott, thank you for that. We do appreciate the assist there. Shifting gears, Seth, pick of the week. I think you've got a great one, actually a video this week coming to us from Twitter, and I have to admit I was not familiar. I think looking at it, I may have seen pictures of this robot before. JIBO.
I assume these never ship. Like every time we see them, I'm like, that's cute, but it's never going to ship. So I know I've seen this, but it's like one of these little,
very weird.
Yeah, it's got the human elements to it. Like they try and put this little human weird face thing to it, where it's kind of like has a head
gyrates.
and a torso and two sensors that are shaped where the eyes are. Yeah, very strange robot. But the thing about the Jibo is that I guess the company behind it went out of business. So instead of emailing their customers and saying, "Hey, we're shutting down," they just let the Jibo deliver the news.
let the robot be the messenger.
Yeah. Shoot the robot. So it says maybe someday when robots are way more advanced than today and everyone has them in their homes, you can tell yours I said hello, and I guess it just shuts down after that and self-destructs. I'm not sure. But
yeah. Duck. It blows up.
It's kind of depressing.
Yeah. It actually is. So yeah, they at least. I have to assume this was done with a little bit of a sense of humor, hopefully, and it is kind of funny. Like we've got this video you can go check out, and it's basically the robot telling the user like I'm going away, it's been a pleasure, type of thing. So you never know what you're going to get when you go buy Jibo,
$900 robot.
Wow, it was $900.
$900, and it was a deal on the Amazon Prime Day for $4.99.
Ouch.
Wow, $400 off, and man, it's not a savings if only let's see, July 17th, 2018. Yeah, 6 months later, 6 or 7 months later, it's they're out of business. Wow.
That is a bummer.
Yeah.
Here's the full text. This is what Jibo is telling its users. While it's not great news, the servers out there that let me do what I do are going to be turned off soon. Once that happens, our interactions with each other are going to be limited. You can learn more at Jibo.com and by tapping on the What's New button on my menu. I want to say I've really enjoyed our time together. Thank you very, very much for having me around. Maybe someday when robots are way more advanced than today and everyone has them in their homes, you can tell yours I said hello. I wonder if they'll be able to do this. And that's when it launches into its awkward
song and dance. Really strange. Yeah, and then it pulls out a gun and shoots itself in the head. It's really sad. It's really sad.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So I'm watching. I'm going to start watching these on eBay because this is going to end up I did get my
your wall of.
I've got my
graveyard.
It's back there. I've got the graveyard. I've got my Lowe's Iris sitting back there, so it's ready to go. Picked one of those up, but yeah, these are still ridiculously priced. They're $1,100, $1,200 on eBay. So I'm gonna wait for it to come down. It looks kind of big too.
It may not come down. This might be a collector's item.
No. Well, if it continues to dance, then yes. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of ridiculous.
Only time will tell. All right. Well, if you have any feedback, questions, comments, picks of the week, or ideas for a show topic, give us a shout. We'd love to hear from you. Our email address is feedback@HomeTech.fm or visit HomeTech.fm/feedback if you would prefer to fill out our online form.
We want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show, but especially those who are able to financially support the show through our Patreon page. If you don't know about our Patreon page, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support to learn how you can support HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 a month gets you a shout-out on the show, but every pledge gets you an invite to our private Slack channel, The Hub, where you and other supporters of the show can gather every day for the inside baseball conversations around all aspects of home technology. Once again, that link is HomeTech.fm/support.
Yep, absolutely. And we've got quite a few folks who have done that, and we really, really appreciate it. If you aren't able to support the show financially but want to help us out, please take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. We would absolutely appreciate it. Those reviews help other people find the show. So definitely take a few minutes to do that. We would value the feedback.
Jason, they have little tiny versions, like replica versions of this.
Oh, there you
that
go.
Are like 4 inches high and probably like 4.5 inches tall. So the head turns all the way around and swivels, and I don't think it lights up. But
what was the price?
$12. Like I can get this one right now for $13. Non-working replica is what it says.
Wait, So it's $12 or $900 or.
Well, the $12 is for like a 4.5-inch tall replica. It doesn't work. It's like a statue.
They actually made replicas?
They're out of business. I mean, there's a T-shirt. Oh,
they had the foresight to
getting the T-shirt. The T-shirt's being purchased right as we speak. Like it's mine. This is an extra large.
All right,
done.
Pictures or it didn't happen.
Oh my God, amazing.
All right. Well, while you go buy yourself a whole host of Jibo paraphernalia, I guess we'll wrap up our show here this week. Seth, it was another fun one. We definitely appreciate it and hope you have a great weekend, and we'll look forward to reconnecting with you again next week.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Jason, I'll see you next week.
All right. Take care.